What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, some of you saw the title and went, spring, but it's the end of January. Well, I live on the Gulf Coast, and we get our spring weather kind of early. Though we did have some cold weather recently, it's already clipping the 80s again. High 70s, low 80s. That's springtime weather. I've been on a spring fragrance kick lately, and I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the designer fragrances that I think are great for spring that I'm looking forward to wearing this year. So let's discuss them, shall we? Stay tuned. First and foremost, there's a lot of people that enjoy this, as long as you like Neroli, because that can be an off-putting note for some. It's a little soapy white floral, but fresh green and woodsy. We're talking about Bulgari Man Wood Neroli. Let me get that to focus real quick for you guys. This is a good one right here. This is one of the best flankers in the line. Wood Essence is pretty good, but I think this is better. This is better. You can get it for a decent price. I'll try to have links for everything down below if anybody wants to check them out, but man, this is a good one. Cypress, bergamot, nice and green, citric, fresh. Like I said, Neroli, woody dominant fragrance as it dries. Even a little tone of some like fresh green spice to it, just a little hint of it, with decent performance. 6-7 hour type of stuff on my skin. Smells great. Probably my favorite Neroli fragrance, if I'm being totally honest and reflecting here. Nothing comes to mind that I enjoy more that has a prominent Neroli note. Wood Neroli is a great name because it is woody dominant. It's Neroli dominant. Throw in some green for the color. They depict what to expect in the scent profile pretty well visually and with the name, I have to say. So if you're interested in any fragrances that feature Neroli and are really good, you might want to take a look at Bulgari Man Wood Neroli. Next, we're talking fresh citrus, green, spicy, a little leathery even, with some woodiness. This is one of the better designer releases of 2023. It's Lacoste L1212 Blanc Intense. This is a good one, guys. This is definitely a good one. I like the Eau Fraiche. I'm a fan of the EDP. The original's amazing. The original L1212 white. But this might be the best of the bunch because it's got the deepest character to the profile. What do I mean? Because you get fresh, you get citrus, you get green, you get woody, you get all of those things from the original with this nice, soft, leathery accord that they put here. This is a good one with decent performance. This one kind of falls in the 6 to 8 hour range in longevity on my skin. I believe it's an orange note. It's got like this sharp, almost zesty-like feel to the orange, but still watery and fresh. There's a nice spicy cardamom note here that actually I think gives the orange a little bit of pop. I believe cypress is the green note here. Like there's a lot of freshness, but a grounded freshness. Like there's depth here to go with the freshness. Again, great fragrance that I don't think it's a whole lot of attention, but man, this is totally worth checking out. If you can grab this one for a great price, I haven't checked in the links, haven't checked through links or anything yet, but it was decent when I got it. I want to say I paid around $60 for it, and I'm sure it's around that, if not a little cheaper. And it's a solid fragrance, and it doesn't smell like everything else. Similar style to a lot of things, but not the same profile. Good stuff. I'm looking forward to wearing it this spring. It's Lacoste L1212 Blanc Intense. Now, this is one that at first people were skeptical about, and I bought the day it released from Ulta. I had alerts turned on and everything. I paid full price, and look, I knew it would get very affordable at discounters pretty quickly. You can find them at Nordstrom Rack, all these different places in the, like $50 range, 40 to 60 is what we'll say. I like it a lot. It's kind of Polo green reimagined if it was a much fresher fragrance. It's Ralph Lauren's Polo Cologne Intense Eau de Parfum. What a name. It is not an intense fragrance, but it is a little citric, but very, very green and ambroxan heavy. So if you like ambroxan, you'll like this one. It's a green ambroxan fragrance. Kind of blue elements meet fresh and green. You got violet leaf for this kind of aquatic, slight metallic feel. There's, I believe sage is the aromatic here, but you got other green notes to it that kind of dominate the fragrance. It's very fresh green. I believe grapefruit's the citrus here. In fact, let's give it a spray. Man, it's good stuff. Look, it's nothing crazy unique. It's not going to reinvent the wheel when it comes to men's fragrances, but it smells really good, and it is ideal for the color scheme, which goes right along with spring weather. That mild to warm type of climate, this is perfect for, fine on a hot summer's day, don't get me wrong, but the greener, fresh elements, the stuff about green elements for me that scream springtime. You're going to see a theme here, a lot of green fragrances or prominent green notes in all of the fragrances in this video. And when I do the cheapies, the clones, the niche, every version of what the spring rotation is going to look like mainly for me, going to have a lot of green going. And this is one that I didn't really reach for much last year. I want to get back into the rotation. If you can find this one for a really good price, which not that difficult too, maybe give it a shot, because people have come around to this one since it first released. People like to crap on stuff early on sometimes, and then when they give it a chance, they're like, hey, it ain't half bad. And this is one of those fragrances, Ralph Lauren's Polo Cologne Intense. Next is a 2023 release from YSL that's very woody aromatic. It gets pretty much that simple. It's woodsy, full of bright aromatics, a little green, a little bit of citrus, a little bit of spice from some ginger, ties to the DNA, beautiful opening from Y Eau de Parfum Intense. Now, it is a slightly more generic dry down, more of a familiar woody base, fresh woody base, but I'll tell you what, this is one of the better openings out there. This is a great fragrance counter type of fragrance at a Macy's, at a Dillard's, places like that, where I bet they sell a lot of bottles at those places for people that aren't in the online fragrance community and don't don't use the discount websites, that go to retail establishments and smell on a test strip and smell it. It's like, oh my God, that smells amazing. Babe, smell this. Your girl ends up loving it. You end up buying a bottle. This is one of those fragrances I can totally relate to that and see that, because the opening's fantastic. Arguably, for a lot of people, I've seen the feedback, arguably the best in the line, while it's actually my least favorite in the line. I love the entire line. I love the DNA. The Y DNA is one of my favorites because I love blue fragrances, and this is one of the best blue fragrance DNAs ever. Now, I don't think it's more intense than the Eau de Parfum because it's called Y Eau de Parfum Intense, but it does stand on its own. This is probably the best everyday fragrance of the bunch in the line, if I'm being truthful here. I think this would be the route to go, especially in the springtime, because it offers a lot of freshness, a little bit of green, some minty tones from some geraniums, a little bit of zest and crispness from ginger that doesn't overly spice it. It's not a real creamy type of ginger. It does get a little creamy as it dries, but it's more about woodiness as it dries. Beautiful fragrance, great performance, not a beast like the EDP, but for being an EDP Intense, still performs really well. Still like an 8 to 10 hour fragrance in longevity for me. Definitely worth checking out. I'm going to have it in the rotation throughout the spring. Yves Saint Laurent's Y Eau de Parfum Intense. Now, I'm a big fan of this one. Citrus, a smoother orange blossom than anywhere else in the line's DNA, at least in my opinion. Some dry woods, a little bit of patchouli that adds an earthy tone. This is Gucci Guilty Parfum Pour Homme for Men. I wore this one recently, within like the last 2 weeks, actually. This is a great everyday wear. I think this is the most highly wearable, that's the phrase we'll go with, the most highly wearable option for men in the Gucci Guilty line. And they have some stunners. Not everybody will agree with this take, but Gucci Guilty Absolute is magnificent. The Eau de Parfum, wildly unique and special, but they're not great everyday fragrances for, year-round, or especially the warmer months like your springs and summers, for example. But this is the one. Now, with that said, I haven't tried Guilty Black yet, and a lot of you watching this have told me I'm going to enjoy that. Probably going to buy it this week, to be honest with you. I'm finally ready to pull the trigger on that one. I have most of the line, but this, I think, is, push come to shove. If I just want to wear something, I want to wear this DNA, that orange blossom heavy DNA. I'm going for this one. It's the smoothest. It still maintains a lot of the freshness with some depth, consistent longevity, solid sillage where it reminds me it's there, but it's not an overwhelmingly strong fragrance. I like that. Really good for the springtime, too. Works good on a warm day, works good on a cold day. It's Gucci Guilty Parfum. Now, I'm a sucker for this fragrance. Spicy apple. Even though they don't list Ambroxan, I get an Ambroxan feel. The tobacco here gives kind of this darker nuance to it. It's a little ambery. It doesn't distinctively smell like tobacco to me, but Valentino Born in Roma Coral Fantasy has become one of my favorite designer fragrances. I wore this one in the last couple of weeks as well. This is really good stuff. Shout outs to Giancarlo Burton. He actually sent me this partial. A little bit of a dent. I've worn it a few times, but I didn't put the biggest portion of the dent. But hey, I'm appreciative. I may never go through this bottle. I have so many fragrances, but I've been wearing it, reaching for it lately, and I'm going to continue to reach for it through the spring because this is absolutely magnificent. It's not generic. It has generic tones that tie to a lot, you know, it gets overused in designer fragrances for men, but it has a little bit of that something extra, that little something special, that it factor, if you will, that makes me keep wanting to go back to it. Maybe it's the spicy red apple smell, because the opening is just fan-damn-tastic. We're actually going to give a little spritz on the hand instead of just out in the air. Kind of get rid of some of that perfumer's alcohol. And there it is. It is beautiful. Spicy, fruity, a little shower gel, a little dark, slight touch of earthiness, and there's a warmth to it. It's a nice ambery tone, at least on my skin as it dries. Wife loves this fragrance too, so definitely one I would encourage you to get your nose on. A lot of people like Born in Roma Intense. I like Born in Roma Intense, but I don't like Born in Roma Intense more than Born in Roma Coral Fantasy. A fragrance that's note breakdown doesn't make all of the sense for what you smell. And they just recently put out a flanker that's probably going to be great for the springtime that I haven't smelled yet. But the original H24 Eau de Toilette from Hermes is such a springtime favorite for me ever since it came out. It's got this metallic green citric smell, like the rind of a bergamot, like this green citrus peel smell. There's no citruses listed here. Very metallic, synthetic-like smell. Doesn't smell natural, but it does smell of decent quality, but it's an unnatural smell. This narcissist white floral note offers a little touch of sweetness to it. There's even a bit of a woody element to it, a hit of earthiness. Like, they only give you 3 notes, but there's so much more going on. And look, I know it's an off-putting fragrance for some because it's an oddball. It's a strange one, and that's where the charm lies for me. Great, fresh, metallic green fragrance. To me, that's the best way I can describe it. The most simple form to describe it. Green, metallic, citric. Solid performance, 6 to 8 hour range and longevity. Fresh, unique, very unique. Separate you from the crowd for sure. It can be a conversation starter in many ways. I love what they did with this DNA. The Eau de Parfum is amazing. I can't wait to try this third option in the line. I think there's going to be a lot of great things when the line ends up being complete, kind of like Terre d'Hermes. They made a historical fragrance line there. I think when it's all said and done, they'll have another round of historical fragrances with the H24 DNA. And I'm sorry, no matter how many flankers come out, I think the original H24 is absolutely stunning, and it's perfect for spring. Probably the best designer woody dominant fragrance you can get. Very blonde wood heavy, iso-y super, vetiver. There's LME that adds a creaminess to it. A lot of pink pepper in the opening. I want to say cashmere wood or something. There's a couple different woody elements to this fragrance. But Dior Homme 2020, this is really good for those of you that like woody fragrances that just want that one. There's a freshness to it, but there's a richness to it as well, which makes it great for these transitional seasons where you might have some cooler days, but you're going to have some warmer days too. So spring and fall, I think this is an ideal fragrance for those. Everyday wear for men. You can wear this one year round, don't get me wrong. It's fine in the heat, it's fine in the cold, but spring and fall is where it shines. This is good stuff, and there's always that argument, this or Dior Homme Sport 2021. That's a little bit deeper fragrance, don't get me wrong. But for just a, everyday wear, dumb reach, if you will, or some people don't like that term, let's call it smart reach, because you don't need more than one fragrance, so it's pretty smart, right? You just got the one that does it all. That's where this falls in. This is a great do-it-all fragrance, though I do believe spring and fall to be ideal, like I was saying. And performance is good. 6 to 8 hour range, another one, nothing crazy, but gets the job done. Not average, not weak, above average strength across the board, with a beautiful, easygoing, everyday type of scent profile. Like I said, very woody aromatic, but much more woodsy than it is aromatic. This is the ever so popular and somewhat polarizing Dior Homme 2020. Now we've got another offering from Ralph Lauren in a different line. And all 3, at the recording of this, there's 3 fragrances in line. All 3 are great, but if I had to pick one that's best for the warmer months, that just kind of screams springtime to me, it's the original Ralph's Club from Ralph Lauren. Loaded with woods and aromatics, Virginia cedar, some lavender and sage, some vetiver. I find it to be a little on the fresh side, a little bit of a blue fragrance. It's like a sweet lavender kind of smell to it. good everyday, crowd pleaser, mass appealing, get you a couple of compliments if that's important to you. This works. It's good stuff. Is it the best one in the line? No, but for the season, I think it's the best one in the line. For the warmer months, this is the one I would want to reach for. The Parfum does fine. It's got darker, smokier, warmer elements to it, but it's not heavy. Whereas this has so much more freshness. It's so much lighter. It just really works best, in my opinion, of course, for spring and fall. Spring and summer, sorry. Fine in the fall, too. This can be a signature scent for somebody that doesn't want to overcomplicate things, don't want any of these tricky nuances that, people that are more into fragrances enjoy. Just want to smell good, and it work for everything you're going to wear year-round, especially in the warmer months. That's where fragrances like Ralph Lauren's Ralph Club comes into play. And finally, I had to put what I deem an all-time great monster for any time, any season, but especially warmer months. It's a little deeper, a little darker, a little richer than being ideal for summer. But when it comes to spring, there's another one that's great transitional fragrance, but also can be a signature scent. Dylan Blue from Versace. Never gets old to talk about this one. It never gets old to recommend it. It never gets old to wear it. Rich citrus, a little dark and smoky, watery and aquatic. There's ambroxan, there's spices, there's woods. There's a lot going on here, especially olfactive fatigue. That's definitely something that's going on here. I experience it every time. And it's one that'll come back to life on me later. And it's not the fragrance that's coming back to life. My sense of smell comes back to life. I've had situations where I've gotten a compliment 7, 8, 9 hours into wearing it. Thought it had faded a few hours prior. Didn't feel like respraying. Turns out I had a trail going. This is stronger than it gets credit for sometimes. It's bordering beast mode type of stuff, really. You just get nose fatigue to this. Your nose will wear down. It's one of the best men's designer fragrances ever created, in my opinion. It's loaded with synthetics. That's why your nose wears down. So at least my nose wears down so quickly. I have a sensitive nose. But it's phenomenal. And I felt I needed to put a tried and true option here. I kind of saved it for last. I didn't save the best for last. I saved one of the obvious choices, I think, is how we'll put it, for last. If you've yet to get your nose on this one, you probably should. If you have it already, dust that bad boy off. Give it a spritz. Whew, good stuff. And get it in your rotation this spring, because I'm going to wear it at least a time or two for sure. It's Versace Dylan Blue. Well, that's the 10 fragrances I wanted to discuss with you guys that I plan on putting in the rotation this spring, as far as designers are concerned. And until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, because I do appreciate all the feedback. And I love hearing from you guys. What are you guys planning on wearing as far as designers? Now, some of you are like, oh, I can't believe you didn't put Artisan Blue and stuff. Some fall better into the cheapie lineup. So there's certain designer cheapies that are going to be featured in the cheapie list. You know what I mean? There's a few others that you may have expected to see here, but they're not going to be in this video. They're in a different video, because I try to keep as best I can to above 50 bucks when it comes to the designers, and the cheapies below 50 bucks. Though a couple of these you might be able to find below 50 bucks, like Polo Cologne Intense. Probably get that around 40, depending on bottle size and where you find it. But some good stuff in my opinion anyways. And until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of these 10 and you give them a spray now, it's always a chance you might thank me later. Have a good one, guys.